Hello and welcome back to Weston the Historian. So, yesterday I was in English class, and they always will give us at the beginning of every, quarter some basic philosophy questions. In this quarter, she decided to give us these questions like, oh, what is freedom? What is the relationship between power and freedom? What about like the government? All these little questions regarding freedom. And it was the second question which caught my interest. It was the question was, what is the relationship between power and freedom? So before we get into what the relationship between power and freedom is, freedom, at least in my definition, is the ability to exert authority over yourself and over your own life. That is, at least on an individual level, and on a communal scale, freedom would be the ability for a community to govern itself and to choose its own destiny. So, with this definition in mind, that brings us to the question, what is the relationship between power and freedom? And from my view, and supposedly this is not the conventional view, the relationship between power and freedom is that in order to be truly free, you need power. You need authority over not only yourself, but your surroundings. Because if you are weak in any sense, if you don't show any sort of power over your surroundings and over other people, then you will eventually get dominated by stronger and more powerful individuals. And your community, you definitely see this with nations. You see smaller countries will eventually get dominated by more powerful countries, and you can't really have any sort of freedom if you don't have the power to defend yourself against your enemies, I suppose you could say. So, in order to illustrate this well, I would like to give an example of ancient Athens and Alexander the Great. So, ancient Athens was developing all of this philosophy and art and culture. They had poets, they had writers, they had all these different people coming up with these interesting ideas and creating masterpieces and stuff. But the reason that they had the freedom to do this is because they had power over their neighbors. So you see already this relationship between power and freedom. You need power in order to be free. And then eventually, Athens, they were having these discussions about, oh, what is justice? What is just? What is just war? But all of these discussions kind of became nothing when Alexander the Great came and conquered Athens just like that. Just like that. And all of these discussions about philosophy, of course, they were important, and they are still here today. But they did not necessarily have the freedom to discuss them as much as they would have if Athens had remained the most powerful force in the ancient, in their part of the world. And with Alexander the Great going on conquest, it was almost as if none of that mattered. I mean, you can't really tell Alexander the Great that, what he's doing is unjust according to ex-philosopher's worldview. He's not going to care that much. Well, he will care a little bit because Alexander the Great read a lot of philosophy, but he still is not going to go, okay, I guess I'll just not conquer you. He was a conquering man, and he had power, and he had the freedom to pretty much take whatever he wanted because he had a powerful army. So you see this relationship between power and freedom. You need power in order to be free. And you see, before Alexander the Great, because Athens had power, they had the freedom to develop philosophy and art and poetry and music and all these different things. And then when Alexander the Great conquered Athens, and when he eventually conquered all the way up until like Afghanistan, or modern day Afghanistan, his empire, although it had a lot of problems to the point where it was pretty easy to see that once Alexander died, it would fall apart. Because they had this somewhat of security and somewhat of knowing that they were a part of the most powerful empire, culture began to flourish in the sense that people felt the freedom that they could develop culture more, at least in some areas. The Macedonians especially felt a lot more free in Macedonia than, let's say, a Persian who had just gotten conquered. Although Alexander the Great did do a lot of things to try and ease relations, but that's not really the discussion of today's video. But as you can see, there is this very interesting relationship between power and freedom, which some people just don't realize is there. That you need power in order to be free. You need power over yourself. You need power over your surroundings in order to have the freedom to have the choice to, like, are you going to focus on working out or philosophy or being a warrior? All these different things. You need actual power in order to be able to make these decisions. So that's pretty much all I've got for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope I changed someone's mind or made them think deeper about this. If you enjoyed, then please like and subscribe and share it with someone. But that's about all I've got for today. So thank you for watching, and goodbye.